Hey YouTube, Alex here, and in today's video I want to talk about the downsides of pursuing financial independence. The first downside is that you will get attacked. People looking to build wealth will always be attacked by people playing status games. Anytime you try to get something or achieve something for yourself, there will be people there to tell you why it's wrong, why you shouldn't do that, why you should stay in your lane. There's this crabs in a bucket mentality with a lot of people. They feel the need to keep everyone at the same level for whatever reason. If they don't like their job, for example, they want you to also work a job you don't like. If they are in a relationship that makes them unhappy, then they want you to also have relationship problems. If they're having some kind of financial issues, they may not want to think about that, right? So if this is a situation where you're wanting to learn more or you're trying to explain some kind of decision making process, then yeah, you tell people you're pursuing financial independence, you're gonna get pushback, unfortunately. You'd think in a country where 40% of people cannot afford a $1,000 emergency that there would be some level of open-mindedness to trying to improve, but sadly that's not the case with everyone. You need to expect a must be nice attitude from people who will say things like, oh, must be nice to not have a big mortgage, or must be nice to not have a big car payment. Whatever you try to pursue in your life, you will always have resistance. Number two is that some people will use you if they know that you are financially independent. They will feel that you are really well off and that you can afford to spend money like wild. And they may not consider the sacrifices that you've made to become financially independent. Jason has talked about this in interviews where when he moved back to his hometown, he expected family members to be excited about what he learned and the information he was bringing to the table, but they were more concerned with the idea of being able to get resources from him, to get money from him, to have access to his time. It was really a wake-up call in some ways for him, like I think it will be for some of you who are watching this. When you do attain your goal of financial independence, then you're going to get reactions that don't necessarily make you feel supported or appreciated. Some will make the argument, well, if you're retired, can't you just help me out? Or if you're financially independent, can't you just help me out, whether it be in time or in money? A dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow, and some people will always be looking out in the short term as opposed to the long term. Number three, it's not always cool to make positive financial decisions. Whether it be the hot new shoes or the fancy new gaming console, there's always going to be these new things to spend money on that you don't really need, but for whatever reason, it's a status thing like a car or a house, but you want to feel part of the group, and so you make the purchase, even though it's not going to make you happier. It's something that you're going to adjust to really quick actually, and it won't bring you the same satisfaction on day 100 that it will on day 1. I think the United States is particularly extreme when it comes to consumerism. You see all the different collectibles and the school fundraisers and all these different things designed to make money. You realize after a while that you're not going to fit in no matter what you buy. The guy in the Mercedes feels like a hotshot until he pulls up next to the guy in a Ferrari. I see all of the silly things that I collected as a kid, and I wish that I had the money instead of those toys. Financially independent people tend to think of things as assets versus liabilities. And when you think of a lot of collectibles or toys, and I'm not saying like if you have a business in these things, I'm talking about just if you're doing this stuff for fun, like I feel like a lot of us in America are pressured to do, you're really having a lot of liabilities. I know because I have a storage unit back in the US that's storing some stuff that has a lot of sentimental value, but also some junk that I should have gotten rid of a long time ago. It's not always cool to drive a used vehicle. It's not always cool to live in a modest apartment versus a big house, but these kinds of things can help a person cut down on their expenses. I certainly don't win any cool points by wearing some older clothing, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not in a professional setting right now. This YouTube is just entertainment, and so I don't mind that I'm not dressed to the nines. Contrast this with a work setting where I'm being paid. Contrast this to a professional setting where I'm being paid to represent a company, and it's a little bit different story. Point number four, you may have to change your friend group. This is a hard one, I think, for a lot of people, but I think it's a sign of maturity and growing up when a person meets different people that are more in line with the values that they've determined as an adult, as opposed to the values that are socialized, values they've gotten from their parents, from society, from the people around them, moving toward values that they feel strong about. That's certainly happened in my life. I've changed up my friend group a lot since I was a kid, and I think it's been for the better. I have surrounded myself with people people who have traits or values that I would like to have or represent myself, and don't have as many traits that I perceive of to not be as important or as valuable. I'm not here to single anyone out. I've certainly had a lot of growing to do myself, but as we grow older, as we change, we may need to change up our friend group, our social group. If you've got friends that don't take their finances seriously, they're always living from month to month, that, okay, yeah, maybe when they were 20 that was cool, but now that they're 30 or 40, yes, I recognize that there are a lot of challenges facing the millennial generation, and I'm not here to discount that or to disrespect or mistreat people who have had a harder time than myself. That being said, even I am making more money than I did 10 years ago in terms of career. I'm further along in my career. I have more experience. It's nothing major to brag about. I do think that I've improved a lot, and if you have the impression that some of the people that you are surrounding yourself with are stagnant, it may be a good time to think about that. Think about where you're headed and whether or not your path is aligned with the people in your life. I've also had friendship where I overlooked certain behavior patterns to my own detriment, where I looked the other way and it wasn't for the best. I should have noted that problematic behavior and been willing to move on with my life. I've changed a lot since then. I had friends in the past that would pressure me to spend more money than I could reasonably afford to spend. And I know some people will say you've got to live it up, and I did, but there were also times where I didn't really enjoy what I was spending money on, and it was better off for me to have distanced myself from those people that encouraging me to make decisions that went against my best financial interests. And the fifth and final downside of pursuing financial independence is that you may get bored. Once you figure out your process, your step-by-step process of how you're going to make a lot and live on a little, it's really just repeating that process. There's only so many ways that a financial independence influencer or personality can tell you don't spend money. It does get a bit redundant at times, to be completely honest with you. I got into a cadence of going to the same parks in the Bay Area, going to the same neighborhoods, eating at the same budget-friendly, fast casual establishments, not really doing a whole lot after work, being limited in my after work activities to things like vlogging or researching or budgeting or planning or learning about investments. A lot of these activities are more production oriented rather than consumption oriented, and that can get a bit boring at times. And if not boring, just kind of repetitive, like you wake up and you know this is exactly what my days are going to look like for the next year, and that can be kind of daunting as opposed to a person who will consistently spend a lot of money to maintain variety in their life or lifestyle. Pursuing financial independence isn't for everyone. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone because it's just not going to be the best decision for everyone. That being said, I hope these 5 points have been helpful. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have you thought about any of these before? What are your thoughts on pursuing financial independence? I think it really helps to generate interesting discussion. Give us a thumbs up if this topic's been helpful to you. Subscribe down below if you want to see more content like this, and we will see you next time.